moment now, the curtain officially comes down on the election in Delhi. Although the Election Commission has said that anybody who's entered a polling booth before 6 o'clock will be allowed to cast their vote. At 5 p.m. the voter turnout had crossed 63%. With more than an hour to go, it's now 6 p.m. and we still have maybe about 30 minutes left before everyone who's entered the booths is able to vote. That number is expected to, at the very least, match if not exceed last time's voter turnout of over 65%. The high voter turnout, who does it mean an advantage for, and what are the national implications of this verdict, if any? That's what we'll be keenly looking at over the next 2 hours. Of course, as we ask Kaun Banega Mukhyamantri in Delhi, let's turn our attention just for a moment to also what's happening in Bihar, where there is a tussle for power between Chief Minister Manji, who's recommended the dissolution of the assembly, and Nitish Kumar, who's just been elected by the other legislators as the head of his party. Who will the governor heed? Whose advice will the governor act on? The BJP, several senior leaders of the BJP also in Delhi saying that they are in no hurry. They're waiting to see how the governor reacts. And of course, the Delhi result could be waited for before the BJP also seeks to make its next move in Bihar. So quite interesting there. You're seeing two stories unfold, two big political stories at the same time, all with one question: Kaun banega Mukhyamantri? Ab ki baar kiski sarkar? All right, before we turn our attention to our special panel this evening, let's just go across to all our reporters who are fanned out across the national capital. We've got Ketki Angre, she's been following Kiran Bedi all day. We've got Sunetra Chaudhary and we've got Sandeep Phukan. And Ketki, I'll start with you. We now expect the numbers of people who have voted to at the very least match last year's turnout. In fact, it looks like the number could well exceed last year's turnout. That is something that the BJP had attached a great deal of importance to. How many people would actually come out and vote? So what are you hearing from the BJP camp? How are they reading the turnout so far?
Well, the BJP camp certainly will be very happy if the numbers go out, because their concept of Panna Pramukh and Booth Pramukh was something that Amit Shah has worked on even in Gujarat. He, in fact, even while addressing party workers, talked about how Panna Pramukhs actually helped him win 5 consecutive elections without him ever stepping onto the soil of Gujarat. So certainly it's an experiment he's using in Delhi, and if voting percentage is the key for the BJP, they will be very happy if the voting percentage does go up. In fact, Barkha, let's show you some shots of a 105-year-old voter who's just leaving the polling booth here in Krishnanagar. Her name is Shanti and she's been voting for decades now. A 105-year-old voter, very enthusiastic even at this age. आप यहाँ इतनी देर से आप लड़के हैं उनके, तो बहुत सालों से यहाँ पे वो वोट करती आ रही हैं. काफी उत्साह उनमें दिखाई दे रहा है.
बहुत साल से करता हूँ.
यहाँ पर बहुत सारे वोटिंग परसेंटेज ऊपर जा सकता है. लोग कह रहे हैं कि वो बीजेपी के लिए अच्छा संकेत होगा.
ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, लेकिन ये है कि लोगों में किरण बेदी के यहाँ पर आने से थोड़ा सा उत्साह लोगों में बढ़ा है, लेकिन ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. लोगों ने बहुत वोट कांग्रेस पार्टी को, आप पार्टी को काफी भारी वोटों से जीता.
Alright, a balanced view coming in there from the voter, but Kiran Bedi will also be very happy with that. We spoke to her a short while ago and she actually had lost her voice by the end of the day. She has been working in this constituency, travelling all across the 42 booths of Krishnanagar, even saying that she's got a lot of support, and she's saying if the voting percentage does go up, all she did was kept flashing the victory sign, saying that it will certainly mean a victory for the BJP. So Kiran Bedi very confident, especially with those trends coming in Barkha.
Okay, let me just briefly get Sunetra and Sandeep in on what they're seeing around them. The turnout is going to be critical in understanding how Delhi is voted. Sunetra, where you are people still trickling in to vote? Because the EC now says people have to have entered the booth before 6 p.m.
That's right, Barkha. So the people over there is just behind me over there, where the polling booth is in Timarpur, an interesting constituency north of Delhi. sitting MLA is an AAP person. The candidate was changed, but it doesn't seem to have dampened spirits over here. The polling agents, these are the people who man the booths, and they seem, if you look at them, they all seem really cheerful about how things have been throughout. Now 65% is the turn up in this particular booth, and this particular booth has been interesting because this is where Arvind Kejriwal talked about slow polling. He complained about it, but Election Commission said, look, that doesn't stand over here. People over here said there were problems, people were being very slow. Only when they highlighted it in the media, when Arvind Kejriwal cried foul, that's when people fixed it. इसके end में आप लोगों को लगा, आप लोग खुश हैं कितने लोग आए हैं?
सब कुछ है, बहुत खुश है।
लेकिन भाजपा के साथ टक्कर है।
जी ये तो मैडम अब लेकिन दिमाग से ये तो जनता तय करेगी, मतलब पब्लिक ने तय किया।
आप लोग खुश है, आप लोग पार्टी कार्यकर्ता। Okay, so those are the party workers, of course, but this young woman, a resident of this area, has been telling me about what constituted her vote. What are the issues she voted for? आप कह रही थी आपने किस चीज के लिए वोट किया?
आम आदमी पे दिया है उन्हें को।
किस वजह से?
इस वजह से दिया है कि भविष्य सिक्योर हो हमारा। अब जो पार्टी को हमने पहले देख लिया, अब उन पे कुछ हुआ नहीं, इतना महंगाई हो गई है।
आपने किस को दिया था पहले?
पहले हाथ को भी दिया है, कमल को भी दिया है।
दोनों को ही दिया है पहले?
नहीं, पहले दोनों को दे चुके हैं।
अच्छा,
पहले जब कांग्रेस का रास्ता तो कांग्रेस को दिया था, फिर कमल को भी देके देखा, लेकिन अब आम आदमी के हाथ में लग रही है।
आपको भी ऐसा ही लगता है?
हाँ जी, मैंने भी झाड़ू को दिया है।
ओके,
वो इसलिए कि वो अरविंद केजरीवाल जी जो है वो पानी और बिजली के जो दाम है वो कम करेंगे।
Okay, so these are some of the quintessential issues. Barkha, before I hand back to you, just want to show you the shot across the road. That's the turning point. That's the point for the Congress supporters. And there's been a friendly banter from across the road between the AAP supporters and the Congress supporters. So all is not lost over here. They may be fighting otherwise, but they've been quite cordial with each other. In fact, one of them was telling us that they've been saying कि कुछ वोट हमारे लिए भी छोड़ देना. So interesting kind of mood over here in Tamarpur.
All right, Sandeep Phukan talking about the Congress and the loneliness of the Congress. Ajay Markan there literally being a lone warrior, but if at all it's an unclear verdict, we'll be back to the same questions of what could happen between the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party.
Absolutely, I'll in fact get you a voice. The three-time MLA from Sadar Bazaar, he's joining us soon. But you talked about curtains coming down. It has come down. Look at that polling booth. There's a couple. There's a lady who wants to go in. The gate has closed. Barkha, see, she's going back. She's going back. She's not being allowed to go. I hope we got that shot. She's going back, Barkha, because exactly when the clock struck 6, this gate was closed, perhaps just a few minutes late. I am now joined by Rajesh Jain, Sadar Bazaar. He's a 3 times MLA from the Congress party. Most of the people here you see are completely one-sided pro-Congress, and they have very interesting views why they would vote for the Congress. But first to you, Mr. Jain, very quickly, who's your biggest challenge, BJP or the Aam Aadmi Party? Because the sitting MLA is from Aam Aadmi Party.
देखिए, सिटिंग एमएलए रहे हैं आम पार्टी के, लेकिन उन्होंने 1.5 साल के अंदर कोई काम नहीं किए, और जो झूठे वादे केजरीवाल ने किए थे उसी वजह से 49 दिन में वो सरकार छोड़ के भाग गए, और आज दिल्ली की जनता फिर।
लेकिन एक बात एक जल्दी से बताइए, अगर ये हंग असेंबली हुआ, और ऐसा मौका आया कि 10 सीट कांग्रेस के पास, 25 सीट उनके पास या 26 सीट उनके पास, विल द कांग्रेस सपोर्ट द आम आदमी पार्टी? विल यू रिपीट दैट एक्सपेरिमेंट?
देखिए, कांग्रेस ना तो सपोर्ट देगी ना लेगी, और कांग्रेस का एक ही नारा है कि हम सेकुलर पार्टी हैं।
हम तीसरी बार इलेक्शन चाहेंगे?
नहीं, देखिए, इलेक्शन हो या ना हो, लेकिन दिल्ली कांग्रेस पार्टी हमेशा सेकुलर पार्टी रही है, जो झूठे नारे करके, झूठे वादे करके जो जनता को गुमराह कर रहे हैं। दिल्ली की जनता झूठों में घिर गई है, उधर मोदी झूठे वादे कर रहे हैं।
We'll see that on 10th. Thank you very much. I have a very interesting voice. Before I hand over to you, Barkha, he is a music teacher at Modern School, your alma mater. He had a very interesting point of view why the Muslims are divided on issue. You were saying about that, you would have voted for AAP, but now you don't want to vote. Why? Tell us.
Hello, Barkha ji. Good evening. I'm Modern School and I am very happy to talking with you. You are a modern night. मेन चीज़ थी कि अभी तक कुछ आम आदमी पार्टी की तरफ बहुत लोग थे यहाँ पे, मगर कल जब इमाम साहब ने एक बयान दिया कि आम आदमी पार्टी को दीजिए, तो यहाँ के काफी सारे मुस्लिम जो हैं वो अगेंस्ट हुए। क्यों? क्योंकि हम किसी की मतलब कोई प्रॉपर्टी तो है नहीं। और दूसरी बात है कि
इमाम साहब का कहना था कि आम आदमी पार्टी सेक्युलर पार्टी है, मुसलमानों का वोट टैक्टिकली उनको देना चाहिए।
नहीं, सेकुलर अगर आप देखें तो सेकुलर तो कांग्रेस से ज्यादा सेकुलर तो कोई है नहीं। अभी ये था कि कई लोग यहाँ पे जो थे आम आदमी पार्टी के थे, मगर उनको दिखाने के लिए कि देखिए आप, हमारे वोट आपकी बबूती नहीं है, और हम मुसलमान जो है वी आर नॉट ए कम्युनल पर्सन, we are the secular person.
Okay, thank you very much. So Barkha, very interesting point of view from this teacher of modern school, saying that Imam Bukhari is not the custodian of Muslim vote, and perhaps to send that message, at least he says that he wouldn't vote for the Aam Aadmi party. But as I said, I have to say, repeat this again and again, Barkha, this is a small pocket of a large constituency, Sadar Bazaar. Opinion seems completely divided. This seems like a Congress stronghold. I'm completely running out of time, so I would have, but this pocket seems like a Congress stronghold. No wonder Congress chose to start Rahul Gandhi's roadshow from this point, and that's why we saw such large crowds.
All right, very interesting there. A Muslim voter actually saying he's changed his mind about the Aam Aadmi Party after the Shahi Imam's so-called endorsement for the party that the party said it never asked for. To the big question now, as we wait for the aggregation of the multiple polls and for the numbers to come in, as well as for the official turnout that the Election Commission will announce, and it now does seem that it will be as high as last time, if not higher. What does this mean for national politics? Is it just another state election? And if it is, why did the BJP particularly invest so much in it? Has the gamble paid off for the BJP? Will it mean anything for national politics when you see a myriad of different parties, from Mamta Banerjee to Mulayam Singh Yadav, all stepping in to endorse Arvind Kejriwal? Are they trying to create a new anti-BJP front? Let's introduce our panel this evening. From the Aam Aadmi Party, we're joined by Shazia Ilmi. From the Aam Aadmi Party, we're joined by, from the BJP, I beg your pardon, Shazia Ilmi. From the Aam Aadmi Party, Atishi Marlina. From the Congress, Salman Soz. With us in the studio, of course, our expert panel, Swapan Das Gupta, senior journalist, author and commentator, and also Professor Ashish Nandi, sociologist and of course commentator and author. Shazia Ilmi, I'll start with you because you have the benefit of having known the Aam Aadmi Party very well, but now being a BJP face and voice. Why does this election matter so much, and how do you read the turnout so far? We're waiting for the official figure, but we do know that one of the things the BJP party president stressed and underlined again and again was getting the vote out. And he had 1.2 lakh volunteers in touch with 30 families each. Each one had to get in touch with 30 families. Now that it seems that the turnout is healthy and high, how is the BJP reading it?
I think it's great that so many people actually turned out and participated. I think this is the biggest, this is the dance of democracy. So we should celebrate it, and it's really great that there's such a huge civic engagement and people are so involved in these elections that there has been a huge turnout. So no matter who wins, I think just the fact that people have gone out and involved themselves, including the middle classes, including the high income groups, that itself is a great sign, and we must applaud that as just regular citizens and not just as members of any party. I think yes, there is a lot at stake for everybody. Every election matters to BJP, but the fact that is being used all the time, that so many central ministers are involved, Prime Minister himself is involved. If you see Kashmir, if you see Maharashtra, if you see J&K, if you see Haryana, all these ministers and the Prime Minister have gone ahead.
I've seen those elections and not like this. Not like this.
They have. Delhi is where they reside. Delhi is the heart. Delhi is the capital. So obviously they're involved. So they have campaigned extensively everywhere. And now with Bihar, now with this crisis happening, a lot of attention is going to Bihar also in the BJP, as you can see. So had some of the ministers from the cabinet not been involved in this election, had Prime Minister, this is an important point, had Prime Minister not extensively rallied around these elections and galvanized support for Kiran Bedi ji, then the question would have been, they've left Kiran Bedi out in the cold. She's being made a scapegoat. So either way it would work, it can be made a point.
But Shazia, let me take this to Atishi, but I do have to express some disagreement with you, because the ferocity of with the entire BJP galvanized its people. You have senior ministers holding multiple press briefings. You have the full-page newspaper ads.
Yes.
There's clearly a lot at stake for the BJP by the way it's approached this election. 120 members of parliament. But I disagree.
I think there's much more at stake for AAP.
For the Aam Aadmi Party. Let me
yes, it's a matter of survival for AAP. So there is much more at stake for AAP than for BJP.
I was going to say that, Atishi Marlena, while the Aam Aadmi Party has been talking about the verdict being a possible referendum on the Modi government, it could be even more of a referendum on your party, because could Arvind Kejriwal really afford defeat? The BJP can afford to lose one state. The Aam Aadmi Party, as a party now of Delhi, at least at the moment it's a party of Delhi only, can you afford to lose this election?
I think Balfa, who wins and who loses is something that we will now know in the next couple of days. But I think the question that you're raising about why this Delhi election has become like a mini national election is an important one. And the reasons for that are that this is a fight between two kinds of politics. One is the politics of high corporate funding, of corporate policy that gives huge hundreds of crores of loans to Adanis. And on the other side, you have Aam Aadmi Party trying really hard to raise some amount of money when it comes to power, working for the common people of the city. And this is the reason why BJP is putting so much might behind it. The reason is that they are uncomfortable with the kind of politics that Aam Aadmi Party
okay, that's not the BJP, but what if the Aam Aadmi Party, you haven't answered my question. Can the Aam Aadmi Party, once again Shazia, Atishi, can the Aam Aadmi Party, is it do or die for you? It's not do or die for the BJP. The BJP still gets to rule India. If you lose, how do you bounce back from that? Isn't it a referendum on Kejriwal more than a referendum on Modi?
Balka, first of all, let me assure you, we are not going to lose this election. I think you just need to step out and speak to 10 people whom you know, and you'll find out who's winning this election, number one. Number two, about the space for the Aam Aadmi Party. The space for the Aam Aadmi Party exists because there's a fundamental problem with the democracy of this country. And the problem is that it doesn't work for the common people. Parties come, parties go. Congress was thrown out by the people of this country. BJP was brought in. And yet nothing changed fundamentally for the common person of this country. That is the reason for the existence of the Aam Aadmi Party. And that is why Aam Aadmi Party continues to be relevant even today, even though it was written off after the Lok Sabha election.
Fair enough.
And that is
Shazia, quick response and then I've got to move on. Okay, Shazia, quick response and Salman.
You know, it's Aam Aadmi Party which is talking about free Wi-Fi, but is not telling anybody as to which telecom operator they've had a deal with who will provide free Wi-Fi. They are the ones who are talking about 100 schools per year, which means 2 schools in a week,
anyway,
which is humanly impossible.
Let's look ahead. The election is over.
I know. Corporate funding. I'm very amused to hear for the first time in this election the word corporate funding come in, because they were quiet on this until the elections got over. We would like to know who is paid for the huge hoardings. Anybody who lives in Delhi, and I don't mean this out of malice, can see for themselves the huge banners, hoardings, television and radio campaigns.
Okay.
So I think it's a bit hilarious and amusing.
I want to, Shazia, as we wait for the final voter turnout, to look at what might be the implications of this verdict. What are the politics at the heart of this election? The campaign tutu meme, I think, can be put behind us. Salman Soz, for the Congress, I think the biggest thing confronting you is irrelevance. You have even all the other regional parties now endorsing the Aam Aadmi Party. The Aam Aadmi Party was smart enough to reject the Imam's offer of support. Sonia Gandhi didn't even do that. So how is the Congress going to confront this growing shadow of irrelevance?
I think first of all, the Congress Party is one of the 2 main national parties in the country. So yes, this election is just as important as any other state election. But we'll see how the results come out. We have no idea. We'll see what the exit polls say. We'll see what the end result is. But the Congress Party, yes, has gone through a series of setbacks. But it is time for us to actually rebuild. So we will come back. What you see right now is, in some ways, when things are going bad, things keep going bad, and then eventually you start turning around. And I think that turning around moment is going to come. The question is whether it's going to be starting now or will it be delayed. We'll see. We'll see after the results come out.
All right, now to the big questions of this election. Let me bring in Swapan and Ashish Nandi. Swapan, the first talking point this evening, has the BJP made an error in making this a high-stakes battle? Because there is one view that says it's just another election. Even if the BJP were to lose this election, it wouldn't matter so much. It is not a referendum on Modi, say all the senior ministers. But then why has the entire cabinet, 120 MPs, the BJP with all its might fighting this election? Wouldn't it then make the verdict about itself in some ways? Hasn't it done that to itself?
Well, that certainly has, there's a perception, certainly, that the BJP has put everything into the battle for Delhi, and to a large extent this is understandable. Because
Why? Why does Delhi matter more than other states?
It's understandable because I think despite the fact that the BJP is an old party in Delhi, it's not like Haryana where it was a new party in various ways. The Delhi unit was plagued by a lot of problems. And I
faction-ridden, no one leader.
I think the real problem with the Delhi unit was that it had failed to adjust to some of the new type of politics which had been introduced by Narendra Modi. So a degree of outside help was called for. Whether the extent of it, whether they overdid it or not is like the question. The other point which is very important is that as far as BJP is concerned today, they are battling all the elections with Narendra Modi as the main symbol.
They try to change that here. They try to make Kiran Bedi the main face, and it didn't really work.
Added, no. What they wanted to do was they wanted to complement Modi with someone else. They wanted to give a local touch to it, partly because I think there was a need to actually be specific as to who would lead the party.
But has the BJP treated Delhi differently from Maharashtra, Haryana, Jammu and Kashmir?
I would say yes, it has, in terms because it's a small geographical area. This is an area which is a media hothouse, and therefore it gets a disproportionate share.
Amount of attention.
I think the amount of attention Delhi has been given by the media sometimes made me wonder, especially when I was out of Delhi, we are seeing a local channel being played under the guise of the national. I mean, we are fortunately not Singapore. And at times we got the impression that, everything is boiled down to Delhi. And I think that's understandable because the media is comfortable.
But in a way the BJP also responded to that media.
I think both of them fed on.
Professor Nandi, what's at stake? Why does this election matter? Do you think it's just because the media is headquartered in Delhi that it gets the amount of attention? Or do you think we've actually seen two men here who they have nothing else in common, but I would say they have one thing in common, that they understand that there's a new grammar to politics. Both Arvind Kejriwal and Narendra Modi are effective communicators and build political narratives around effective storytelling, the power of the image, the power of the media movement. What's at stake here? What's at stake here for both parties? And isn't there almost so much more at stake for Arvind Kejriwal?
Look, the real answer is this, that populism was introduced in Indian politics in the 1970s by Congress, and it was became a populist party, but it's no longer as a populist leader. Now the other two parties, AAP and BJP also have been trying to retool it to become more populist. You look at the way the ideology has been handled, their own ideology. It is no longer an ideological party, though it tries to pose that, strike that posture. It is increasingly like any other party with a lunatic fringe perhaps, but lunatic fringes are in all parties. And AAP was brought up in this populist environment. It is naturally populist.
That's interesting.
So whether you like it or not, the moment you try to win an election, you fall back on the model which you have honed over the years.
So it's a kind of post-ideology, populist politics is what I'm hearing from Professor Nandi. But I want to go back to Shazia and Atishi on what's at stake for both parties. And I'll start with you, Atishi. You said you're not going to lose to start with. Every party will say that till the vote is counted on Tuesday. I just want to know, how does the Aam Aadmi Party, you made several mistakes last time, you spread yourself too thin, you concentrated on too many states, some would say you had delusions of grandeur. You've recovered from that, you've focused your all on Delhi. If Delhi doesn't fall into your lap, what will you do?
I think, Balkha, that's a completely hypothetical question, and I think that situation wouldn't arise. I think Delhi is one place where the Aam Aadmi Party has really consolidated. It has really brought out the issues of the people of Delhi. And I think that today the people of Delhi are behind the Aam Aadmi Party, and we are likely to do extremely well.
And if you don't?
As I said, that's a hypothetical question. We are likely to do extremely well. What I can tell you is what will happen next once we do well in Delhi is the fact that I think what if we do well in Delhi, I think that really signals the imminent collapse of the Congress party. Because the Congress party stands at a very crucial juncture in its history. It's been reduced to 44 seats in the Lok Sabha. It's lost all of its legitimacy. If the Aam Aadmi Party does well in Delhi, it will be perceived as a political alternative throughout the country, especially in those states where there's a direct fight between the BJP and the Congress. It's the Aam Aadmi Party that is likely to emerge as a significant, most significant.
So you're hoping for a kind of domino effect. Obviously, Salman Soz is already laughing. But Salman, it's a very interesting question because look at the kind of the endorsements may not make any difference on the ground. Mulayam, Mamta, Prakash Karat, they may make no difference on the ground. But there is a messaging there. There is a messaging there that this, if Arvind Kejriwal defeats the BJP in Delhi, he is the new route to channel to create an anti-BJP, anti-Modi front. I think that's what Atishi is saying.
Look, Barkha, I'll just take one example. Rajasthan can defer elections for panchayats, municipalities and other things. BJP lost 20 percentage points of their vote share from the Lok Sabha election. 20 percentage point drop.
Therefore what?
Gained about 18 percentage points. That means Congress in Rajasthan in less than a year has basically bounced back. You will see these things happening all across the country. The point is that the 130-year-old party is not just going away without a fight. And we're going to fight not because we want the survival of the party, but because India needs a strong Congress. That is my fundamental belief, and I think that is going to come.
Okay, I've got Kiran Bedi talking to Ketki Angre, but I want to ask you, Shazia, on Kiran Bedi. There is a sense that when her name was announced, a lot of people thought it was a masterstroke. I thought it was a damn smart move, but as the campaign went on, it seemed that Kiran Bedi needed much more time to adjust to the political culture of the BJP and even, the culture of being a politician who has to face the media every day. There were gaffes and there was discomfort, and then you saw all of the BJP stepping in. On Kiran Bedi's choice, do you concede that the entire establishment of the BJP had to step in because Kiran Bedi was not as smooth a ride as you would have expected in terms of her candidature?
Well, I don't think so. I would concede one thing though, that I wish Kiran Bedi had more time to not just settle in, but to handle and strategize better and handle her own constituency as well as do her road shows. But I would like to make another point. When Congress party last time gave support to Aam Aadmi Party, they did not realize they were actually committing harakiri, which is exactly what JDU must learn and TMC. They might be very happy and gung-ho about the fact they're backing and in a way kind of stalling this so-called communal party BJP, but they don't realize that it can be a real nuisance and menace, and it could lead to their own extinction. So I think that is a bigger political message that they need to learning from what AAP did to Congress in Delhi. Okay. That's point number one. Okay. Two, you're right about the fact that Narendra Modi and Arvind Kejriwal both are great orators. They are masters when it comes to creating that kind of political imagery about themselves. But Narendra Modi has a record to show. Arvind Kejriwal has much more to prove himself with. Where Kiran Bedi is concerned, she is known for her discipline. She is known for her administrative skills. She is known to be a straight shooter. She is politically innocent. She is not that politically savvy, and I would concede that. But people do know her as an upright officer.
But that's
somebody who would not brook nonsense.
Her experiences as an administrator, not as a politician, and you are conceding that she was a political novice to that extent. And how will that impact the campaign? We'll know on Tuesday. But for now, she's speaking to my colleague Ketki Angre.
Have you managed to complain about the video to the Election Commission?
I passed it on the head office. They'll take a call. Okay. But it's a solid evidence. I wish it's very unfortunate.
And how has the response been? You've been travelling all across your constituency today.
Solid enthusiasm. I can't walk on the street, I get followed. I have to shed security because it becomes an entourage. So I can't walk the street. I can't have security because it becomes identified vehicle. I have to move around in an unidentified way to reach out to my karyakartas to thank them.
And what is the voting percentage looking like, ma'am, right now?
Some places is 90%. Some places in booths 90%. It's gone very high in many places.
So is that a sign?
Yes, it is. It is leading towards victory.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
So Kiran Bedi there drawing some satisfaction from the high voter turnout, she says. Swapan, if I can bring you in on this, the choice of Kiran Bedi. I think Shazia is quite candid in saying that she had great experience as an administrator but probably not politically savvy. Is that why the entire BJP establishment had to step in? Is that why Nirmala Sitharaman and Arun Jaitley and Ravi Shankar Prasad were back on television, even taking part in nightly debates in a way that we haven't seen them doing for a long time?
Barkha, I think what is meant by being politically savvy.
That was Shazia's phrase.
No. I'm not really making a sort of value judgment, but what does it mean?
Let me
in the context in which we are discussing it. It means that are you comfortable with the media?
Not
only. To my mind,
it also means are you comfortable with your party? Do you understand the power structures of your party?
I think Kiran Bedi didn't have too much problems of integration into the party, considering that she was announced for 3 weeks. And I personally believe this was a very important and audacious move on the part of the BJP.
Audacious, yes. Has it worked for
it's
them?
Or
did it turn out to be
because for a very long time, everybody, all the socially concerned citizens of India,
and of course you mean that sarcastically only. Barkha, if you can give me
have been talking in terms of how...
Shazia, 1 second, I'm just coming to you.
How good men and women...
Yes, don't join politics.
Yeah, don't join politics.
Yes.
Now, if a good woman joins politics and is given an instant recognition by the party, of course there is some heartburn in the rest of those who got left behind. Next we say, oh, she's politically not...
No, my question is different. Did everyone have to jump in because she couldn't handle the campaign?
Kiran Bedi told an anchor to shut up, told someone else something else, was rather brusque in a way. I don't think we should be assessing the worth of somebody purely in terms of how they handle journalists.
That's fair.
And if that is only the case, then which is the reason why the Aam Aadmi Party gets so good? Because they are PLUs.
No.
Absolutely.
Come on.
It is a classic case of the entitled classes who repackage themselves for the common cause.
Okay, I must allow...
Not be a political savant. She might not know the sophistry which comes with words and handling press and saying, oh, I'm a victim, I'm a martyr, hang me, take me there. But she's a doer. And I think that's her strength. And I don't think when we think of politics as sophistry or gimmickry, she would not be good. But if you think of politics as good governance, as the art of administration, she's a perfect politician. Okay. So that's a distinction I was making.
I want to bring in Atishi to Swapan's point of the PLU class backing Aam Aadmi Party, the people like us. So this is actually just the establishment repackaged. Now, what's interesting to me as a journalist, Atishi, is that last year there have been phases when the Aam Aadmi Party has attacked the media. There are phases when the BJP attacks the media. But the reason that there's so much attention to how the media is covering this election is that it is perhaps the most mediated by media election that I have seen. That the new politics is all about the television image and the social media warriors. How do you respond to Swapan saying you're just the establishment in a new dress, the old establishment in a new dress?
I think it's actually quite amusing actually that he should say that, because in many ways, in fact in probably most ways, we are just the reverse. In fact, we are far from the people like us, because we are the people who are actually questioning the rules of the establishment. We are in some ways, we are being regarded as the disruptors who have come and said, no, we don't accept the current rules, we don't accept corporate funding, we don't accept politics that doesn't work for the common person of this country. So in many ways, far from being the people like us, we are actually the reverse. And I feel that an Aam Aadmi Party has actually rewritten the rules of politics in Delhi. It has even forced the BJP to have far more person-to-person contact. Door-to-door campaigning has got revived in a much bigger way, where parties actually have to go to the voters, listen to the voters. Participatory governance, participatory policy making is there in all political party manifestos right now, because this is a big issue that Aam Aadmi Party has talked about. That was the answer to Swapan's question. Your questions earlier, your discussion earlier about Kiran Bedi and what impact it had. I think one thing that we all have to accept is that Kiran Bedi was a PR disaster for the BJP. And I think it took them a few weeks to about 10 days of bringing her on to realize that. But the reason that they had to bring on their cabinet ministers, their 120 MPs, is not just because she was a PR disaster. It was because of the strength of the support that Aam Aadmi Party had on the ground. And while the surveys took some time to actually estimate the amount of groundswell of support for the Aam Aadmi Party, once the surveys started coming in, I think the BJP had not anticipated how much support the Aam Aadmi Party had.
Okay, now the first of the exit polls have started coming in. The first couple of them are predicting more seats for the Aam Aadmi Party. We are going to aggregate all of the polls and give you a poll of polls number to be fair. Professor Nandi, before we slip into a break, Kiran Bedi, I think I do take Swapan's point that the media gives itself too much importance by thinking it can make and break politicians. I think the Prime Minister is a perfect example of how sometimes fiction-filled relationship with the media doesn't necessarily impact how people vote. So is this sort of negative commentary on Kiran Bedi a kind of, echo chamber of Delhi's journalists only?
Well, frankly speaking, I like chief ministers and prime ministers at least to be politically savvy.
But what is the phrase?
We have lived a number of years now with a well-intentioned, honest bureaucrat who ruled India. And if Kiran would want to duplicate the model, she should have joined Congress. She has a better chance there. But I don't think that can be avoided. Okay,
I've got to slip into a break. When we come back, we're looking for the official voter turnout from the Election Commission. Also, as we said, the polls, the exit polls have started coming in. We'll bring you an update on what they're saying in a moment from now. Welcome back. You're watching our special analysis, the high-stakes battle in Delhi and what its national implications might be. Now, voting has closed, though the Election Commission has said that anyone who entered the booth before 6 p.m. will be allowed to cast their vote no matter how long the lines are or how long it takes. Also, we're beginning to get the first aggregate of the first two exit polls that are out. Let me share those numbers. This is an aggregate of two polls which are by C Voter and Cicero. And they do give, if you aggregate the two, they do give the advantage at the moment to the Aam Aadmi Party. The polls, if you remember, this is a mean of the two polls. The poll of polls of Cicero and C Voter predict 37 seats for the Aam Aadmi Party, 29 seats for the BJP and only 4 for the Congress. Of course, there are multiple polls and these numbers could change, and these are not the results. These are only the exit polls. But let me get the politicians to give their first responses. But first, Swapan, are you surprised? It's early days, first two polls. We don't know what happened.
I would rather wait because, doing an exit poll at 6:30 to my mind is not correct, because it often tends to take in only the early voters.
What does the turnout suggest to you? What is the turnout
I think two things are very clear from it. One is it's going to be a pretty close fight, because I think if you look at all the exit polls which have been done, they are sort of hedging, and so it could work either way. So it's going to be a pretty tight fight. Secondly, as we witnessed during the Lok Sabha election, what does a high turnout mean? Who does it favor?
And I think we're getting a turnout figure now. If I'm not, I think I'm being told it's 67%.
No, so, but who does it favor?
67 has exceeded the turnout from last time. So this is very important. So who does it favor?
And on this count, the exit polls are of absolutely no use.
What do you mean?
They cannot factor in, because there is a certain composition, there's a social composition to the turnout, and they cannot factor this in, because they take into account one poll versus the earlier election versus this one.
Yeah.
And if there is a spectacular rise in the turnout, then I think some of their calculations go awry.
Now, we do know that the voter turnout is 67%. Shazia Ilmi Atishi and Salman Soz. 67% means there's no election fatigue, certainly. Shazia, it also means that the fear perhaps that the BJP had of the middle class and the upper middle class voting, not voting, has not happened. But the aggregate of the first two exit polls still predicting a lead for the Aam Aadmi Party. Your reactions both to these numbers and to the turnout. 67%. Delhi voting in greater numbers than either during the Lok Sabha, by the way, and marginally higher than both the Lok Sabha turnout and the last Vidhan Sabha turnout.
I think Delhiites have seen such a lot of drama in the last year and a half, and they really want a government to start with. You know, I don't know about AAP or BJP. Two, if more and more people have stepped out, it means that the traditional voters, who come out always and vote, the slum dwellers and the low income groups have come out indeed, but also the middle class voters. The high income group has also stepped out and has participated, which means that the voters also would not just moved by freebie promises, but also want an able government, a capable government, with a plan in place, with something implementable, with something actionable, which actually has a blueprint and not just empty promises, which are coming out in vote. So I think it's a very good sign for BJP, and these are numbers of exit polls. Whoever wins, I mean, we should accept the mandate if at all it can be proven. But I feel it's still too early. Exit poll would factor in the early voters, and polling has continued beyond 6 p.m. 10 minutes past 6 p.m. as I've been told.
That's fair.
So I think we cannot take it as the gospel truth, so to speak.
Okay, Atishi, we now have an aggregate of 3 polls, 3 exit polls, and they are, if you aggregate them, it's 38 now for the Aam Aadmi Party, 28 for the BJP and 4 for the Congress. So obviously the exit poll should make you smile. But does the high voter turnout at 67% cause you some anxiety?
No, absolutely not, Barkha. In fact, we were very keen that there should be a high voter turnout, and it's not surprising that in what has been a very high voltage campaign, we should also have a high voter turnout. In fact, not just as a political party, I think for Indian democracy as a whole, a high voter turnout is an extremely good sign. Having said that, looking at the exit poll, personally, I would like to say that I'm not surprised. Our own internal surveys have been showing for quite a while that the Aam Aadmi Party has gained substantial ground and has gone far ahead of the BJP, and that is precisely what the exit polls are predicting. But having said that, I think we just have a few days to go. We are likely to know on the 10th, but we at the Aam Aadmi Party are extremely confident that we are going to be forming the government after the results on the 10th.
But by the way, 67% is not even the official turnout yet. The last people in the booths are still voting, because the Election Commission has said that everyone who got into the booth before 6 p.m. will vote, and the CEC, the Chief Election Commissioner himself, has said this number could go up to 70%. Salman, the polls looking disastrous for the Congress, and Ajay Markan, poor chap, goes on record to say the Congress will get 30 seats. Is the Congress, in some sort of imaginary world? Some parallel universe that none of us have access to.
Let's assume that the exit poll results are accurate or likely to be proven correct on the 10th. The fact of the matter is that what we are seeing is that if this holds, then Mr. Kejriwal has somehow managed to kind of erase the blot of having run away after 49 days. And it seems to me that the BJP under Mr. Modi's leadership has not been able to take Mr. Modi's wave any further. I think that might be a very, very important marker for this particular election. As far as the Congress party is concerned,
I want Shazia to respond to this. I want Shazia to respond to this. Shazia, the reading of the verdict, and we'll know the verdict only on Tuesday. It's a health warning. These are exit polls. But the exit polls are, at the moment, an aggregated addition of 4 exit polls is predicting a victory for the Aam Aadmi Party. Now, Salman Soz says it will prove that the Modi juggernaut has hit the Kejri wall.
Well, Salman Soz is free to make his comment, and if indeed there would be a defeat for BJP by a small number or 10 seats as is being projected by exit polls, it would be time to introspect and also watch what will unfurl at the up end, which will now have to make good the promises they've made, which are absolutely impossible, and also to handle all the Naresh Balyans and Sahi Rams and Chauhan's claims to ministry. So I think there will be a lot of fun waiting for Aam Aadmi Party, and while BJP will do it bit to introspect, I think Aam Aadmi Party will be facing a lot of music in case they win. It's not the end of the game yet.
Okay, Atishi, very quick response and then we have to slip into a break. Is the Aam Aadmi Party making a contradictory argument? You never wanted it to be Arvind versus Narendra Modi. You kept saying it's Arvind versus Jagdish Mukhi when there was no Kiran Bedi. Now if the results go your way, why will you argue that it's a verdict on Mr. Modi?
I think it's a verdict on Mr. Modi because the BJP made this an election about Narendra Modi. You step out of your home, see every hoarding, see the front page newspaper ads that have been coming in the past 2 days. The BJP, yes, did put Kiran Bedi forward once they realized that the situation in Delhi was dicey. Yeah. But it was Narendra Modi all the way, be it the posters, the banners, the hoardings, the rallies. So if this election is lost, it definitely does raise a question mark, not just about Mr. Narendra Modi, but the entire style of politics that the Bharatiya Janata Party does, be it their corruption, their crony capitalism or their communalism.
I'm going to thank the politicians, Shazia, Atishi, Salman, thank you for being with us. The figures now as they stand, and I want Professor Nandi and Swapan Das Gupta to respond to this. We have the aggregate of 4 exit polls forecasting on an aggregated calculation, 38 for the Aam Aadmi Party, 29 for the BJP, 3 for the Congress. This is the Nielsen, the C Voter, Cicero and News Nation. Professor Nandi, on whether this will say something about the pace and the speed of the Modi juggernaut, has it hit a little hurdle in the road? Has it hit more than a hurdle in the road? If these are true, I have to keep saying if.
If you tell me to guess, I will say there is no real way of guessing what is the consequences of late voting and things like that.
Yeah. But what are the consequences of a defeat for the BJP?
There is no data available. Yes, I am just coming to that. So I would presume that this results will more or less hold.
Okay.
More or less.
Okay. If the polls are right.
If the polls are right.
What is the consequence? What is the political consequence?
I think first consequence will be that part of that thing will rub off on Modi, which shouldn't have. Modi did not have done this. I mean, Atashi is right that Modi
needn't have made it
yes, and I would have thought
high voltage battle.
It's a minor election, frankly, if you ask me. And I mean, after winning 5 major states, what does the election of Delhi matter?
Quickly on that, then the BJP made it a high stakes battle. It wasn't otherwise.
It was always a high stakes battle, but BJP made it doubly so.
They scaled it up. They scaled it up.
Yeah. And the question arises, and I think if these figures which suggest that the Aam Aadmi Party is going to form a government is true, and if I think broadly speaking, it is clear that the Aam Aadmi Party has an advantage.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And the BJP is the number.
And what does that mean in terms of the political statement that some will attach to the verdict?
You can attach a lot of significance to it.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be demands in the coming days for Modi to step down.
No, come on. Now let's not stretch the point. Let's not stretch the point.
So I'm grateful that you've now told us where exactly
the threshold is.
Exactly.
No.
So the point is, it is a setback. The BJP machine, which had been winning election after election, there has been a blockage somewhere.
Yeah.
It's got to be, you've got to pick up the thread.
Okay, so why was a minor election, as Ashish Nandi calls it, catapulted to the status of a major battle by the BJP? We'll be taking a quick break. Also, the Election Commission saying it expects a 2% addition of 2 percentage points in the turnout. So the turnout is definitely going to be higher than either the Lok Sabha or the assembly elections of last year. This is not a city or a city-state that is feeling political fatigue, as some may have thought. We're taking a quick break, coming back with the latest from the different exit polls at the moment predicting an Aam Aadmi Party government for Delhi.
Presented by Amity University, committed to nation building through education and beyond. Co-powered by Lloyd Air Conditioners, जो दे खुशियों की guarantee. BLCC, shaping your confidence.